Before I do that, I want to give a shout out to everybody who worked on the holiday happy hour last week. You all are amazing. I had so much fun. So thank you to Gabby, Divine, Nicole, Kim, Shannon. You're all awesome. In fact, I have some leftover memorabilia here that I'm just going to throw on so that you guys can all see how ridiculous this is. If you didn't make it to the holiday happy hour, you missed out. I mean, there is probably a video that'll be floating around at some point of the maintenance team and me doing a pretty incredible dance. So I'm keeping these forever. Gabby's got a video for sure. We had so much fun. We have just an amazing company, amazing team. You're all awesome. All right, so we're going to jump into the Rhino operating system, and today we're going to talk about annual planning. So this week, my wife and I are actually doing our annual planning, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, last time I spoke. What we do is we get away once a year and we do some planning and some vision casting for us as a family, us as a couple, and us individually. And we're doing that this week. So what I wanted to do is just talk about our process for that with you all in hopes that it would be of service to you. Well, first of all, I read this really interesting article last week, and it actually talked about how similar organizational strategy is to strategy for our lives. So here's this Harvard Business Review article. This just came out last week. And they were saying, hey, organizations often set a strategy for them as a company, but how often do we as individuals set a strategy and a plan for us as an individual? Well, I find that just about every company has these things, right? They talk about what is our purpose, what is our vision, what are our benchmarks, what does success look like, and how can we move towards success? But how often do we as individuals ask these questions of our lives? So what does a great life look like? What is my life's purpose? What is my life's vision? How can I what are my benchmarks, and how can I continue to make progress towards those benchmarks in my life? Well, I find that so often we as organizations think about these things, but we don't think about these as individuals. And that's really what Rhino operating system is all about. It's taking a lot of those principles that we do as an organization and moving them into the individual realm. And here's what I love about this. So if you look at EOS takes a vision, breaks it down into a 10-year target, you develop a 3-year picture, and that creates your 1-year goals. Well, ROS, the Rhino operating system, is the same thing just for your individual life. So you take this life plan, this vision for your life, and then with that, you come up with a 10-year target, a 3-year picture, and your 1-year goals. And the 1-year goal is really like the cornerstone habit to creating what we call then the rhythms of execution. So the rhythms of execution look like this. You come up with your 1-year goals. That informs your quarterly planning, which informs your weekly outcomes, which informs your daily tasks. So what's interesting about this is our days have a flow to them, right? There's like an arc and a flow to our day. Our energy flows throughout the day in a particular way. And our weeks have a particular flow to them. Gabby was just talking about like Friday felt like a Monday. Well, what does that even mean? That means that like you have a feeling for what a Monday typically feels like, and you have a flow throughout the week where Friday should feel different, right? Like there's like this flow throughout the week. And so if you're paying attention, you can see how that energy changes throughout the week. And the same thing happens throughout the quarter. We have these quarterly rocks that we set, and there's a flow throughout the quarter. And the same thing happens throughout the year. There is a flow to the year. And here we are in December. We're getting to the end of the year, and that means a particular thing for each of us. So just a reminder, there's these 5 components of the Rhino operating system, starting with who, identifying your individual, unique DNA, never before been created, never again going to be created, and then determining your why, your what, your how, and then your when is all about those rhythms of execution. It's about those flows throughout the day, the week, the quarter, and the year. And so today we're going to talk about the when component. We're going to talk about how now is the perfect time to be doing annual planning right now in December, before we get into the new year, before the whirlwind sucks you in. Now's the time. But before we do that, I want to launch a Zoom poll. So I would love to hear from you. The question is, what percentage of your personal goals did you accomplish, or are you on track to accomplish this year? So some of you maybe didn't set personal goals this year, but maybe you even had some kind of an intention for this year. Maybe it wasn't a measurable goal, but maybe you said, hey, I want to, improve my physical condition, or I want to invest in my marriage, or I want to improve my relationship with my children. Those count. Those are goals. So if you set any of those kinds of goals, are you on track to accomplish 0 to 24%, 25 to 49%, 50 to 74, 75 to 99? So what percentage are you on track? And maybe some of you are on track to accomplish all of your goals, 100% of them. So go ahead and just punch in where you are. I would love to hear from everybody. I think we've got most or all of you in. So let's go ahead and share these results. All right, so you should all be able to see those results there. I'm going to pop this over on the screen too, just for the recording so folks can see. Really interesting. So, only about 20% of you actually did not have goals for this year. So you're all doing something right. Most of you have goals for this year. And if you didn't have goals this year, that's totally fine. Now's the chance to set goals for next year. And of those of you that set goals for next year, as you might expect, there's kind of this normal distribution with most of you being on track to accomplish something like 50 to 74% of those goals. Some of you are on track to accomplish between a quarter and a half. And look at this. Many of you are on track to accomplish most of your goals, so 75 to 99%. And you've even got a little bit here of accomplishing 100% of your goals. Kudos to you. I don't know how many goals you set, but we are learning from you. You've got it figured out. So that's kind of what I expected. It's sort of hard to have everybody in a company our size accomplishing all of their goals, right? People are going to be anywhere throughout that normal distribution. So let's talk about what can we do. What are some key advantages to doing annual planning, and what can we do to accomplish our annual goals? So the first key advantage to annual planning that I want to talk about is annual planning provides a roadmap. So it gives us this roadmap so that we can know where we're headed. If you don't have this roadmap, you've heard me use this analogy before. It's kind of like having a boat without a rudder. You're just sort of drifting, and you're going to end up where you're going to end up. And so the annual planning provides this roadmap, gives us a structure so that we can work into those daily, weekly, quarterly, and annual rhythms of execution. And believe it or not, having that structure actually provides you the opportunity to be adaptable in the moment. And so it creates this structure, but it also gives us flexibility to be able to adjust throughout the year. And the other thing that it does, not only does it provide a roadmap, but it also helps us to enlist encouragement and accountability. So I love to set my vision for the year and share that. Me and my wife work on it together. I share it with an accountability partner. I review it periodically with this accountability partner. So it just really helps me have this roadmap for this is where I'm trying to go over the next year. The second thing that it does, annual planning does, is it actually helps us to prepare for the inevitable resistance. So our word for this year was resilience in the face of adversity. And so in order to be resilient, you've got to have things that are coming at you that are impacting your ability to do what you're setting out to do. And that was certainly the case this year for many of us. And I suspect it'll be the case next year and the year after that and every year after that, because inevitably things happen that work against us accomplishing our goals. So when you do your annual planning, that helps you to be prepared for that resistance that will inevitably come. And then you can do some contingency planning, some risk management. You can make adjustments in real time, but it's really about getting your mindset ready to accomplish those goals before the year starts. I love this quote. You've heard me say it before. This is from Dwight Eisenhower, former president. He says, "Plans are worthless, but planning is everything." So think about that. Plans are worthless, but planning is everything. because things are inevitably going to change. We can't say, okay, well, I'm going to hit my plan 100% of the time, every time. And that's not the purpose. The purpose is actually going through the planning helps us to be prepared for when things change, because the planning process itself is what we're after, not necessarily hitting our plans 100% of the time. The third key advantage to doing annual planning is annual planning produces results. And that's really what we're after. So it's all about having this continual progress in the right direction, one foot in front of the other, continuing to make that progress. And so it helps us to think about our priorities. It helps us to think about our energy. Where are we actually putting our energy in the process? Like I said, like to review my goals periodically with an accountability partner. And I've just found that's a great way for me to produce results for myself once a month. Just knowing that that meeting is on my calendar, just knowing that I have to tell this person exactly how I'm doing on my goals is enough for me to do better at my goals. Like just that meeting on my calendar once a month, it's 30 minutes once a month, is enough for me to do better at my goals. So I really think it helps us to get out of the whirlwind, helps us to, when everything seems crazy, helps us to really see the results that we're trying to accomplish and produce those results. So again, just to recap, what are the 3 key advantages to doing annual planning? Well, first, it provides a roadmap. It gives us this roadmap to where we're trying to head. Second, it prepares for the inevitable resistance that we're going to encounter throughout the year. And third, it actually produces results. Annual planning helps us to produce the results that we're trying to produce. So let's go ahead and jump into how do we actually do annual planning. And I'm going to share a tool with you all that I'm using for my annual planning I'm doing with my wife this week, and that I've seen other people use this tool and use it effectively. The particular tool that we're sharing is a shortened version of the annual planning that we're doing. I've shared this with you before. Shannon and I are going to spend multiple hours doing our annual planning, but this tool can really be done in like 30 minutes, maybe an hour tops. So my encouragement to you all is carve that time out before the end of the year to do the annual planning. And this tool is really just to help you answer the question, where do I start? If any of you are asking the question, where do I start? We want to eliminate that question just by giving you a tool that you can use. So the first part of the tool is really getting clear on your vision for the year. So I really recommend, now granted, I'm a visionary, so I eat this stuff up. If you look at the Harvard Business Review article, it talks about how organizations set a vision and families set a vision. Well, I've realized, I'm a bit of the visionary on both fronts, right? I'm always thinking about a vision for us as an organization. I'm thinking about a vision for me as an individual, for me as a couple, and me and my wife as a couple, and us as a family. But here's actually a vision that I had kind of put together for this year. So this is my vision that I did December of last year for this coming year, moving fully into my visionary role and being really intentional about time with my family. That was the vision I had set out to accomplish, sort of my intention for the year. I know a lot of people set an intention for the year as opposed to a New Year's resolution. By the way, you guys probably know this, but most New Year's resolutions, like over 90% of them, get forgotten in January. So like people just forget their New Year's resolutions. They don't do them. So this is why I recommend having a process to help to avoid that. And it starts for me with having a vision for the coming year. From there, I boil that down into 3 words. So visionary, family, and resilience. Resilience being the term that Burgos said was going to be our word for the year. And then I started to think about, okay, what does that actually look like? So what is rest going to look like for me in the year? What does a healthy lifestyle look like for me this year? What relationships am I going to invest in this coming year? What am I going to do to unplug this coming year? Where am I going to travel this year? So you guys know, we did our 10-year anniversary in Greece, my wife and I. No kids, lots of fun. But also traveled to Chicago for my strategic coach sessions, traveled to Florida to see some family. And then what do I need to achieve the vision that I set out? I need accountability, alignment, support from friends, family, coworkers, things like that. So for any of you that have been doing the Vacation Optimizer, some of these may look familiar. This is very similar to the Vacation Optimizer that we do, but it's really setting a vision for the year, the way that we often set a vision for our vacations. Now, after you set that vision for the year, Then you can go in and set goals. I really recommend getting the vision clear before you set the goals. I've shared these with you previously, but here are 5 of the goals that I had set for me for this year. One around my physical condition, one around my vocation, moving into the kind of visionary sabbatical space, and then joining Strategic Coach, doing family meetings with my kiddos, and then moving into my my ideal week as visionary. So those are just 5. There are actually 5 of the 10 goals that I set for this year. I set 10 goals pretty much every year. And usually my 10 goals span various life accounts. So in fact, I'll share that Harvard Business Review article with you all. They talk about life accounts in that article, whether they be physical, emotional, mental, maybe you have a parental if you have kids, maybe you have a marital if you're married. But not everybody's going to have all of those life accounts. So that article is a really good one just to be thinking of having different goals and different life accounts is kind of what I had gone for this past year. So that's the tool. We'll share a fillable PDF in the chat. Thank you, Kim. And you're welcome to work on this tool on your own. We're not going to go through it today. Again, this tool is just here to serve you. Highly recommend you at least take a look at it and think about what could this coming year's vision look like for you? And maybe what are some goals to help you accomplish that vision? So just to recap, 3 key advantages to doing the annual planning process. It provides you with a roadmap for where you're headed, prepares for the resistance that you will inevitably encounter, and produces results. 3 action items that I suggest for you from here. The first is schedule time. So nothing happens unless you block this time out on your calendar. So again, that's why me and Shannon, not only did we schedule time, but we scheduled time away. We've just found it to be super helpful to get out of Pittsburgh, to get out of our element, to get away from the kids, and to do annual planning together somewhere, that's outside of our current element. It also, at least for me, maybe this is like the visionary in me, I just get better thoughts and brainstorming when I'm not in my current element. So I find it helpful. Maybe go for a walk in the woods. I know it's a little bit cold this time of year, but I love walking through the woods to really get clear on vision. So schedule time, block it out on your calendar. The second is set the vision. So whether you use that tool or not, it doesn't really matter. You could just grab a piece of paper and a pencil, or you could pull up your iPhone and go to the Notes app, or you can pull up, whatever is easiest for you, Evernote, Notion, and just start to jot down a note. But really just get clear on, ask yourself the question. Write this question down when you do it. What do I want to get out of this year? And then just start to journal. What do I want in this coming year? What matters most to me in this coming year? And just start to journal. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. That can be a 30-minute exercise, but just ask yourself the question, am I clear on the vision that I have for this coming year? And the third thing that you could consider doing is sharing your plan and your goals with someone else. So again, I mentioned this earlier, but just the fact that I have an accountability partner that I need to meet with once a month is enough for me to feel accountable towards those goals. And it's one thing to feel accountable to yourself. It's another thing to feel accountable to somebody else for accomplishing those goals. So that's why I like to share them. My wife obviously knows about them because we set the goals together, and then I share them with my accountability partner. Kim knows about them. I share them with her. So any opportunity I have to share my goals with somebody that I trust and that I care about and that cares about me, I just have seen that it helps me to accomplish my goals even better. So that's it for today. We've got a shorter session today because we're wrapping up right here at the half-hour point, but we do have a few extra minutes left. Does anybody have any questions about annual planning or rhythms of execution or really anything that we talked about today? You can post questions in the chat. You can raise your virtual hand, or you could just come off mute and shout at me. Maybe you have a question about the crazy dance we did last week. I mean, I'll take any and all questions at this point. All right. Well, I'm less good at waiting awkwardly than Gabby is. So having heard nothing in approximately 12 seconds, I am going to move to conclude. So thank you all for your time this morning. Gabby, anything before we wrap?
I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Andrew.
Great. Thanks, Gabby. And welcome aboard, Gail. I'm so excited to spend some time with you today. And everybody else, have a great week improving lives through real estate. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.